I just find this this idea in terms of these premiums on cars going up, it really is just another blow, a hammer blow to so many people, because they use their cars to get around. On most journeys, you wouldn't know it from a lot of the London-centric media that keep talking so much about, oh, there's a train strike and there's a problem at Waterloo or King's Cross. Well, actually, if you look at the analysis of people who, as I sometimes do, who are listening to talk radio or watching talk TV, well, 82% of you live outside London. So we're not a London-centric station. We are not a station that thinks about London as much as other stations. We're a station that thinks about the rest of the country and the fact that, okay, yes, quite a lot of people use the train, quite a lot of people use the bus. They're more likely to use the bus if they are using public transport, and there are all sorts of problems with that. Labour was talking about a week ago about the fact that so many bus routes have been cut under the Conservative governments in the last 13 years, and that is a big issue for many people. There's also the fact that cars are becoming more expensive, not just in insurance, but in so many other ways as well. We're all being told, buy electric cars. That's something that I probably won't be doing, I must be saying. I wonder what you think about that as well. But the Association of British Insurers said that sustained cost pressures were behind the record highs in all of this. And it paid out $2.4 billion in all motor claims covering theft, vehicle repairs and personal injury in the first quarter of this year. So joining me now is Bob Bull. He's chairman of the Alliance of British Drivers. Bob, an absolute pleasure to have you on the programme this afternoon. This is just an absolute hammer blow to so many motorists, isn't it? They've had high petrol prices, although they're a bit lower than they have been recently for such a long time. We have ULEZ, we have all sorts of charges, and now insurance going up again. What's your reaction to this news?
Well, of course, motorists are the soft touch, aren't they? Many people have to have cars to live, to get to work, to see relatives, etc., etc. And so they can keep on putting price on them, and they know they'll pay it. The thing that I find incredible with the insurance is the numbers. The Office of Fair Trading have said that the insurance costs have gone up 43%. 43% in a year. Inflation's never gone over 11, so how does it get to 43?
Well, inflation's high enough. It's at 8.7%, we're told. But, how have they where have they calculated that 43%? Where has that come from? What's their excuse for it?
Well, it's not them that are saying it, it's the Office of Fair Trading, and I'm assuming that they're just taking quotes. They claim, the insurance organisations claim it's only 21%. Only! That's still
a mere 21%. No, this is just incredibly difficult for drivers. What are your members telling you about what their experience has been with insurance companies and insurance premiums?
Well, I have to say that most of the reports we get are extremely varied. There are some good companies out there. They all put their money up, but there are some companies out there that give good service, but there's also a lot that don't. I've been lucky. I've never had an issue personally, but we have had reports of people saying, they don't come, if you have an incident, they don't come back. They come out with all the reasons why they shouldn't pay, all those type of things. But I don't think people are going to challenge them much because, as I say, you have to have insurance unless you want to run illegal, and that's silly. But, it's just another, like you said early on, it's just another hard hit for motorists.
What tips would you give people in terms of insurance, or in any way, actually, to keep the costs of driving down? Because we absolutely have to do it. Cars will be around for a long time. Petrol and diesel cars, I'm sure, will be around for a lot longer than 2030, when the government's saying they want to stop them being sold. I strongly predict that will be moved probably to 2035 or even 2040. Cars will be around, petrol and diesel cars will be around, and people need them to get around. And there's so many environmentalists who say, oh, well, take public transport. Well, public transport is generally pretty bad in so many areas. There are disabled people who've talked to me in these shows, Bob, who say, well, I can't wait for a bus, and I don't want to wait in a bus shelter, and often getting on the train, there isn't step-free access at my local station, or it's very difficult. And there are lots of people who, for lots of reasons, can't take or don't want to take public transport, and a car really is freedom. So keeping those costs down, what sort of ideas and what kind of tips would you give people? What does the Alliance of British Drivers say?
Well, I think one of the things that we don't necessarily agree with, but is effective, particularly for youngsters, are these black boxes that they put in cars. But I've even heard some of those where you do a minor acceleration over what they consider to be reasonable, and they put your insurance up. So I don't know that there is any tips. I think all you can do is seriously think about the car you're going to run. Some are cheaper to insure than others. Electric cars aren't cheap to insure. And that's one of the problems. I think that the repair rate on electric cars is more expensive. And so basically everybody, because the whole principle of insurance is everybody carries the can for the few that are affected.
So actually, even those who don't have electric cars, those who perhaps are resisting it because they don't want one, they're nonetheless paying for them in a different way and paying in their insurance, Bob.
To some extent, that's probably right. Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of cars, and I insure them in the same company. You get a discount if you've got more than one car. For we've got one each, two of us. But I just feel very sorry for the youngsters, where they're talking thousands of pounds to insure a car the first time they want to learn to drive. That must be very hard, very difficult.
Yeah, it certainly is.